It's a big day today. We're changing the update. Oh, sorry, I have to cut you off for a second. It's never an easy thing to like delay or change an update. It's not something I do lightly. But my own sort of like philosophy with updating Lens Island is I only ever want to provide an update that's worth people's time to come back to the game. If we give them a reason to come back to the game and explore this new content, like it better be a good reason and it better have some playtime. And the update that we made, or that we were making, was really good. It just didn't have the playtime there. So that's what this update is. It's adding in a whole new part of the game that adds in all these new areas to actually use this content in. I would much rather do the big update. Good morning, everybody. How are we?
Yeah, good.
Awesome. We'll start today's call with some pretty big news. Instead of getting one okay medium-sized update, everybody is going to get a really big, massive update in a couple of months. As far as new stuff to add in and pile onto this update, the town's going to change in a big way. The caves are going to change in a big way. Another big part of this update will be basically the beginnings of farming animals and having that whole side to the game.
More sleepless nights. Thanks, Julian.
Oh yeah. Procedural caves. There's like basically right now 3 tiers. The spawn tier, Act 2 and Act 3. Because currently the way it works, only some of the islands in the world have access to a dungeon. And it's like this sort of entrance to like a pre-laid out dungeon. If you just like want to go get coal or iron, you're forced to like go through a dungeon. You have to fight enemies, like lots of enemies, in order just to like go mining. We keep these dungeons, but then we get rid of all of like the cavey offshoots. So they're basically like just dungeons. And then what we do is we have this entire map and then we duplicate it. There's like this whole second world. Almost every island basically has like a cave entrance that leads down to this world. And then this world is like this big sprawling sort of like network of caves underneath like the entire map. And like the whole layout of the cave is procedurally generated, but then with like handmade building pieces. This is like one of like the massive changes that we want to do to the game. But ultimately it means you get a way bigger cave, and like mining and fighting are 2 separate things now. We now have the first iteration of like the algorithm. Here you can see it's going through all the different possible combinations, making sure all these tiles properly link up to the full network. Pretty much like that is like a mirror of the above world, except below world. Now we need to actually just like populate the tiles, like make all the 3D tile sets, properly test this, and do any sort of like further iteration on it. These are the lines of code that make the caves generate in Lens Island. Max has basically just wrote 2,000 lines of code to make caves generate. A tough day. Armor system is basically fully in the game, fully working. The physical armor meshes, like I all did recently, and I'm like happy with them. Like I took a while to do them. They can maybe be improved a little bit, but we've made.
Sorry, you're very confident eating a banana on camera.
Viking shipwreck, knife, ancient spike cloth. All of this is just armor, but then I guess like practically in the game, imagine there's sort of 2 categories. There's like armor, which is like you wear this when you're fighting. Like you suit up to go dungeon crawling and wear your armor, which will make you dungeon crawl better. And then there's stuff that takes up your armor slots that's armor, but it's like cosmetic items that benefits you in other areas of the game. So like we actually have hardcore dungeon layouts done for every single dungeon now. One other thing that we're going to do with both hardcore and normal dungeons is make it so they fully reset when you go back in. And then like the whole reason why you give a shit about doing a hardcore dungeon is because we're sort of changing the reward system of regular dungeons and hardcore dungeons a little bit. When you get to the end of every single dungeon, there'll be like straight up like Diablo chest.
If you do 12 dungeons with 12 chests, you get all the items.
Yeah, exactly.
What you doing?
Cleaning up. Cleaning up after our brainstorming session yesterday. It was good. We got like some scribbles on the board, but we got pretty much everything sorted for the rest of this update now. Because like it went from a medium-sized update to a mega-sized update. Like half the update, or probably like 75% of this update we're working on is already done. Imagine this is the content for like this mega update, and it's like let's say what we should have originally done for the smaller update is here. We ended up overshooting and making this much content. So now what we have to do is like bridge this gap and get to here. And then we have the big update. But like this is still like a lot of content. Like it took us months and months to get to all of that. I guess spoiler alert, Bridgewater's getting changed, the town's getting changed, it's getting split up across the world. There's new NPCs, new traders, there's a bunch of new stuff. Next week is basically starting to get everything together. So we'll probably be able to show everybody next week like some practical footage in the engine of like how the armor works, how runes work, how the hardcore dungeons work, showing a little bit more about cave generation. And it's like all the new systems and all the new content coming to this next update. So yeah, the next video is gonna be a good one. Helm, easy. The midriff, shoulder and shoulder.